Hello, everyone. Another day, another statement from Kremlin that they don't give a fuck about what United States thinks, which is not surprising to anyone who has been paying attention to this whole thing for the last 15 years. Putin insists that the Russian army is advancing along the entire front line. That is not true. Basically, in this respect, his strategy is actually not unlike Trump's in terms of his political approach. He projects, he basically states what he wants to happen and wants people to surrender in advance. And as I mentioned before, it is really pissing him off that people of Ukraine have overturned all his expectations. That there were no greetings, there were no open arms, there were no flowers, there were no, welcoming parades or anything like that. There was resistance. From day one, there was resistance. There were women downloading instructions how to make Molotov cocktails and making them at home. There are people to this day making drones in their garages and shipping them off to the army. There are grassroots movements to this day, I'm part of one of them, that gather money and buy the necessities for the army. And that pisses him off. And that is why he has been more vicious than ever to the Ukrainian civilians, including Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. The threat exchange continues. And again, for everybody who says, oh, why don't they just surrender? I have been asking you guys who say that, this question now for years. What if it was your country? What if it was your country? Or your city? Or your house? Would you surrender under these circumstances? So unless you can answer that question, I suggest you sit down and shut the fuck up. And yes, in this case, Putin is right. Everybody's wish is to stop the Russian army. Not just that. Actually, the wish of Ukrainian people is to chase the Russians out of Ukraine. Had Ukrainians had boots on the ground help from, for example, the UN or any of the allies, as they should have had, since Russia had violated multiple articles of the UN Charter, had they had timely assistance from people who promised to assist, this could have been done in a fairly short period of time. But since that is not the case, Ukrainians are left to deal with this on their own, holding the line, being the buffer between Russia and the rest of the world. The attack that I talked about yesterday, the attack on Kyiv, the death toll has gone up. So yesterday, update was 28. Now we're up to 31, including 5 children. Again, all of you screaming about being pro-life, all of you defending the children of Palestine. What about these children? What about children of Ukraine? What about them? Why aren't there demonstrations and protests and breaking into the Capitol about that? Interesting. Now, this is cool for the military tech folks. I suggest to pop over to this piece on the BBC website. So, a Ukrainian soldier got wounded, radioed for help, and had an e-bike delivered to him by a drone, which allowed him to escape to safety. That's just freaking cool. I'm sorry. I am a very techno joy kind of person, not in terms of that I want the latest gadgets, but when I see technology used for something really awesome and helpful, and this is one of those cases, and good on them. Unrest continues within Ukraine. So we just dealt with the corruption issue, where after signing a controversial bill, President Zelensky had to reverse it, parts of it, and restore autonomy to Ukraine's anti-corruption organizations. What is this about? This is in Vinnytsia. This is farther in toward the western part of Ukraine. This has to do with Ukraine's not always great policy of dealing with draft dodgers. So basically, this is talking about some men who were arrested allegedly for dodging military service. And yes, that is a problem when your country is in the state of war. However, well, it's understandable that they're expected to serve their country. Apparently, there have been reports of mistreatment, cruel treatment, torture of draft dodgers. And once again, I'd like to remind Ukrainian government and law enforcement, guys, we have to keep our nose clean. I understand that the standards are impossibly high for Ukraine. Ukraine, in general, as a country, is being treated the way women are treated in U.S. elections. Everything is questioned, even by countries who have their own problem of mistreatment of prisoners. Even by countries that have their own corruption problems. I understand that, but like it or not, these kinds of this kind of scandals damage Ukraine's image in the international arena, and we need all the help we can get. Finally, there's a big article on the Kyiv Independent website talking about not just Kyiv, but the villages surrounding Kyiv. Why is this important? Well, again, I told you before, Kyiv is actually reasonably well protected, not to the best extent, but reasonably well protected. Better than most Ukrainian cities. However, when something gets shot down as it approaches Kyiv, the pieces go raining on the heads of the surrounding villages. And this is what this article is talking about. Don't get me wrong. These people are incredible. Some of them have lost their homes. Some of them have been displaced. Some of them have nowhere to go. However, their insistence is still protect Kyiv. Kyiv is the heart of Ukraine. Kyiv is the heart of our faith in the region, and it is a historic center. There's so many reasons. It's kind of like, why people would protect Washington or any of the other legendary cities in the United States, like New York City. And yes, these people are suffering much like my parents are suffering. They cannot sleep because a lot of the attacks come in the middle of the night, counting on the fact that people will be at home. There are lots more photographs in this article. I suggest you read it carefully. And again, we go back to our ever-present question. If you're the one who insists that Ukraine should surrender, if somebody did this to your home, is that what you would do? More to come.